All right. Well, we are so excited and privileged to have. I think like just hearing some of the stories, I didn't even realize how dynamic of a couple that these guys are. So we have Estonia, right? Jerra and Steve, and we are going to go through some of the best questions that we've received, and also for them that they've received when it comes to countertops, and then obviously remodeling. And but there's more than just that meets the eye with like getting new countertops for your house, right? So, Jara and Steve, can you guys just give me a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you do it, and then how you kind of go and do what you do?
we we really have fun inside a small scrappier business selling a product that's a very fun product. Stone, marble, quartz, quartzite. It's not just a gorgeous product, but you usually leave behind a real pride and ownership for the customers. So it's a great part of the construction industry. It's difficult, it's risky, but it's so fun to, we're very involved with every product. Almost every homeowner in some way touches our staff, and it's a very involved portion that I think I can genuinely say almost everyone on our team really enjoys the work we do. It's engaging, and so Jared and I are we're we're learning still quite a bit. There's the stone portion of it, and then there's the process and the education part of it, making sure we're teaching our customers exactly what they're getting. There's a lot of different types of materials that fall under the category of stone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And Steve and I, just a little bit of personal info. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary this year. We've been married a long
Congratulations.
time. We have 4 kiddos. We're a very family focused business. You'll find our kids here on Saturdays when we're covering the showroom. You'll meet our kids. My teenager might be cleaning the floor. So they're here a lot. They're with us. They're part of this. Our team is a team of 10. We're a family here at Estonia. Our lead salesperson has been here 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that is remarkable in the construction industry. And our lead polisher has been here 17 years. So
Wow.
we didn't have much turnover. Our team sticks together, and yeah, they're
do you
pretty
want to
awesome.
maybe just touch on so we actually purchased about almost 3 years ago from Eric and Amy Rolseth, and Eric's been in the industry a long, long time. I came from the commercial side, but so a little back history. The company's a lot older than we've owned it, but we're definitely putting a little bit different flavor on the customer experience. It's changed a little bit, but we hope for the better. So,
Yeah, Estonia's been in business for about 23, 24 years.
Wow.
And
That's incredible.
yeah. So we've been part of it as owners just under 3 years. But our team all stayed on, all the staff stayed on. So it's the
Right.
same faces for the most part here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's cool. Yeah, before we go a little deeper, I have like my wife wasn't able to join today, so I have her like in my head. She's like, ask them, out of 25 years, what is like some of the you guys have been, celebrating 25 years. What are some of the things that you kind of look at? How do you like when you're running a business, right? How do you reset when you're working together?
mm,
ooh, that's a good one.
it's a tricky dance.
So one of the things that's worked well for us the last couple months is when we get home we do a walk, or we try to do a nightly walk and
Mhm.
just let the frustrations out from the day. And me, I know just because it's a frustration doesn't mean there's looking for a solution. We're just there's difficult things, there's disappointments, there's things neither one of us know exactly how to handle.
Mm.
So, but listening, and then at the end of the walk, able to disconnect and separate.
You have to turn it off, because
you have to turn it off at some point.
If you don't, it can just continue all evening throughout, the night you're discussing work, and then your kids are getting sick of hearing, about work. And so, we try to have that nightly decompress, because we don't actually see each other all that much during the day. We're both going, and I'm in sales and in project management, and he's on site a lot. So a lot of times we do that walk to just kind of debrief each other, but then it's like, okay, we're mom and dad right now. We gotta turn it off till tomorrow, or try to. Easier said than done.
Yeah. And like last night, right? It was like, it wasn't like we had to do it. It was just like, you know what? We've been talking about this. Let's just get it done, because it's like, one or two things just kind of pile up. And I think it's kind of an interesting part, because on the other side, I don't think so. For example, for us, people think like, you get a plan, you tell me what's possible, you go in and you fix it and you get it done, and then that's it. You have a product, service, delivery, that's it. And I think you guys, right, it's funny because I think people put what you do somewhere in between like Ferguson tub manufacturing and like tile manufacturing, and then somewhere in between that and what I do, which is like completely open up a house and be like, oh my God, what's going on here? And it's funny because there's different levels of what we do, but when it comes to, I like the term artisan, right? Like Estonia stone artisan, because that's like literally, like, as awkward as what I do is, that's literally what we do. We're creating something that no one, even if you could have the same kitchen cabinet layout over and over, the nuances of that home are so annoying and also a blessing, because it creates it unique. So, in your guys' opinion, if you could kind of put into, maybe a couple sentences, the process that you really actually go through, when it comes to, distributing, cutting. There's so many parts, because a lot of people only do one of those things. You guys have it all together. Can you just kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I actually have the process kind of set aside. That's a great point. And I just say to anyone listening, when you have something like you're discussing, you're opening a house, you don't know what's there. Like for someone, things don't come in a box. It's not a product that's waiting to be installed. It's nuanced. So, for us, the process is always, it starts with a request for a bid, blueprints, pictures, quantities, something comes to us that we can take a look at. We have to quantify the amount of slabs we're going to need, the different thicknesses, the vendor pricing. There's a labor analysis. It's the set foot price, which is tough because people want, like, you go to Home Depot and you look at countertops and you want, what's the square foot price? And it's for great customer service, for an excellent product. It is more, what exactly is your expectation and what are we delivering? Yeah. So request for bid, then we give, we estimate it, then we give the proposal. Once there's acceptance or an award, that's when the work really gets moving. We're going to have to take measurements. At the same time, we're quantifying exactly what we're getting. We're making sure that we have accepted submittals, not the commercial sense where we're sending little trinkets to people to accept. Most of the time they're coming into our shop, or they're going into a showroom of one of our partners and saying, yep, that's what we wanted. Sometimes selecting a layout.
Right.
And then, once there's an approval, that's when from that approval is really when the fabrication starts. So there could be months or weeks from, that original bid to approval. And then
Right.
approval, it's usually a couple of weeks to then
Yeah.
fabrication and install.
And that was a pretty detailed answer.
Sorry.
Oh, it's cool.
So
I'm
our process, but what I would, the way it ties to you guys, a lot of times, we get brought in on the front end to kind of get an idea of selections of what type of stone someone wants, and maybe they will go ahead and pick their colors. But then we're removed for a while until cabinets are getting ready to go in. So we'll
Right.
see customers, and then it's a while before we see them again. And sometimes people want to come in and revisit and see their stone again because maybe it's been a few months, depending on the extent of the project and the length of time. But then we get brought in typically towards the end.
Mhm.
People are, we're right behind cabinets essentially.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
they're on the home stretch by then, and they're excited. Sometimes they're also weary.
Yeah.
They're ready to be done, but we're one of the later trades that come in then and put those
Yeah.
jobs in.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna derail us a little bit. I was like getting into all these questions, but I think this is I was thinking if I was somebody, right? So how long have you guys lived in your home?
8 years.
Mhm.
Okay. So for a little while, right? And I was thinking, I'm like, I think what's happening right now with certain clients and customers is that there's before, so you had a certain way before countertops, for example, or what I did, happened, which was basically you show up to the in-stock selection, you walk in, and then you do it like a grocery cart. You go up there, look at the slab, you look at, you take a picture of the slab, you put a hand by the slab, you're like, and then they're like, well, I just like it. But they can't explain why. And then there's veining and all this stuff, right? And then before, if you guys were to say, all right, this is going to go in your kitchen, we need this much square footage, we're going to cut it and we're going to place it, and where it lies, where it cuts and there's grooves and veining, it's where it goes. But now, because of the technology side, right, you have three things that are happening. One is they go in, they saw something in it on whatever Instagram post or whatever. So you have the first one, which is the expectation of what they believe that's going to look like.
Yeah.
They go to the slab in the photo, different shade, different color. We all know this type of stuff.
Yeah.
The second one is the veining and all that stuff. They're expecting the 3D image to be printed on that thing and it to be 100% accurate where the seams match, right? How many times have you heard, no seams? I want to see no seams. And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
we're gonna epoxy every little bit, and we're gonna all of my team are gonna go in there and hand push the rocks together just perfectly, and we're gonna wait for 1,000 years for it to mold. But and then of course the last part is you have the production and the the cutting machine. Is it a CNC technically? I don't know. Okay.
Yes.
So then you have the high powered, thousands and thousands of pressure, water cutting technology that is chiseling this thing within milliseconds, but you're still dealing with a slab that it's not like plastic or something like that. It's still rock. So my question is this, is if I'm a homeowner, and what would the experience be from 10 years ago till after COVID? What are some of the three biggest characteristics that I should know when coming in and purchasing from you guys?
Oh,
Good question.
it's a great question. Um, I can go first.
Okay.
So not just COVID, internet. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube has really changed things because everyone's an expert,
Mm,
which I don't blame them. I Google all my ailments, right?
right, right.
Dr. Steve. But let's say in 2005, seams were a 16th of an inch thick. There was an industry standard set by it was the Marble Institute of America. Now it's the Natural Stone Institute. It sets the industry standard across the country and really across the world. And the variance in height the acceptable variance at the seam is a credit card thickness.
Right.
If we were to ever do a credit card thickness at a seam right now, I mean, people would throw us out of their homes.
Yeah, dude.
The customer expectation has changed so much, and some of it is reasonable, right? Slow down, take your time, and some of it people don't fully know what they're looking for or what is possible. So here's an example: your quartz that you select that's made at a manufacturer is put through a process of uh, pouring the material, so it's just 90% natural, and your epoxies and your color that goes into there, the background matrix, and when they cook them, they end up putting internal tension into the product, so you can end up with this product that has a natural bow. So when we make your kitchen, which is never the size of slab, it's almost always bigger. We have to take the slab and we have to turn a long piece this way and a short piece this way. So the cupping, it's not going to come across here, but the thing goes opposite direction. So getting a perfect seam is much more difficult than people realize. We have another change is we have a lot more equipment now than there was 20 years ago. So we use vacuum cups. I don't know if you've been there for any of those, Justin, if you've seen it done, but so if you put too much pressure on it though to take the cupping out, we had a customer that was having dinner with their family, and the dishwasher was running and the heat created a break in the seam. They thought a gun went off in the kitchen. So if you try to take all the cupping out and you put too much pressure in there, you're creating a fail point also. So seams are a big one. I would say we now sell to a much more educated customer, which everyone does. That's not a problem. It's just we also have to set expectations. Seems an example. There's other examples where it's not there. There's a level of perfection that's really hard to get to. So
And I would just add, like as people spend more and more time on Instagram or Pinterest, you are seeing images, you're seeing beautiful kitchens. It's very possible that in some of those they may have easily edited out a seam line, after a backsplash or something. We are at the mercy of the size of the slab, and slabs vary.
Or people's stairs and corners,
if we could take a roof off of a house, and we had slabs that were 150 inches long, we might be able to make that island happen for you with no seam. But we have restrictions, and one of the things we try to do is early on educate. Like I will tell someone right when they come in and we're looking at their plans, I'll say this piece is going to need a seam just due to the length of it. I try to set the expectation right away. We're going to have to put two pieces of stone together to make this countertop. I will show them a sample of our seams, just so they know no seam is invisible. We do our best to look as discreet as possible. With technology now, and this is a huge benefit, we can do a digital layout. So if they select something that has veining, like you mentioned, something especially with directional veining, I want them to see how this can lay out together. Sometimes we can make it look great. Sometimes I may suggest a different material based on the layout of their kitchen. If they have a U-shaped kitchen, it's not a great one for a linear material. It matters how their kitchen is shaped when it comes to some of the stone selection too, and we take that into consideration. And we can do some imaging for them and show them a rendering of what it will look like cut up, and we make it part of the process. Not on every job. I mean, some it's not required, but if we're picking a quartzite or something that has specific movement, we have them come in if they'd like, or we can do it digitally. And they get to select, for the most part,
Right.
within reason, based
Within
on as
reason.
long as we can do it.
Yeah.
So the areas that they want for specific spots in the
You know, this is an area too that different fabricators handle things different. We're speaking
Yeah.
to the way we did it.
Hmm.
And that's the nice thing about being the owners, we get to decide on what we prioritize. So
Right.
for anyone watching this that's wondering how to do, you know, the the selection process or what you're looking at. Like for us, there's two ways to look at it as a countertop business. Do you cut for yield? Meaning, do you cut to get the most materials out of the slab that you can? Or do you cut for the finished product, for the way the
Yeah.
business goes through? And so we're more of a boutique shop. So we lean towards cutting for the finished product.
Right.
It's not the case everywhere. And sometimes that can be the difference in price by a pretty substantial margin.
Right.
And it's okay. It's a choice. And sometimes when you're the customer and you're choosing, sometimes you would choose price over
Mm.
that finish. And sometimes, you know, hey, this is a feature that we've been waiting 20 years to put in our kitchen, you know, and
Yeah.
dang it, we want it the way it looks the best. And
Yeah.
it's important to recognize that.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to go through that. I knew that question was like a really tough one, and a lot of my audience will probably be like, does that matter? To me it did. All right. Like it was a really good question. So, but I want to go into a little bit more of choosing the perfect countertop, right? So when when the customer experience and roller coaster happens, what typically happens, right, is if it's somewhere around here, they've either had a really dark granite that was manufactured by one of the legends in the area or a larger shop, which are no longer around. And or they bought a home 2008 or prior that had a laminate top on it.
Yeah.
So my question is when you guys are getting asked, how do I choose the perfect countertop without regret? What are some of the first thoughts that come into your head to help somebody from point A, maybe not to point Z, but at least to get in that direction?
There you go.
Well, it's um, I guess I ask them a lot of questions. We start with, first of all, I ask them what they know about different stuff.
Mm,
If we need to start with just some of the differences. And then we start with how they use their kitchen. Do they have kids? Do they cook a lot? Is it a high use kitchen? Is it not? Do they dine out a lot? Maybe it's someone who just
Yeah.
doesn't love to cook. She wants a really pretty kitchen, and then some want a very functional kitchen. So I think finding out how they use the kitchen and their family and their lifestyle is super important. And then we talk about different stones, and then we talk about the pros and cons of, granite, quartz, quartzite, softer stones like marble. So if you're interested in those,
Yeah.
don't do any laminate here. A lot of times people are going from a laminate or a formica top, and they're upgrading essentially to a stone top,
Mhm.
or someone like you mentioned with a black granite, that they're just wanting to lighten things up, freshen things up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
And
always do this with a lot of questions.
yeah, and I think that's a really key point that I want, like for me too, right? Is a part of education of the buyer is like the way that we ask the right questions, because that's like most of the times if I didn't go through my question and answer thing, I'm thinking of a couple customers right now that like we have tension, right? And it's like a lot of it could have been alleviated by being more open with like being okay with the answer that someone else is giving you. So for example, that was a really good one was for countertops, most people all think other customers or clients are the same as them. Like, oh, like I just want something functional that I can put a hot plate on. And then the other person's like, well, I never want to be in here except for when I'm like doing quick kids' kitchens. I just want it to look clean all the time. Well, that's the difference between a quartz product and probably a granite and or you're not going to be using marble on that. You know what I mean? So I think that was a really good way because it's we're taking their imagination and putting it inside our heads for a little bit so that we can connect without the attachments of, the emotional tie of like, I need this, right? So another question that I was wondering if we could hit on quick is from so maybe not so like maybe a high surface area like level looking down. I think if you could give me just a rule of thumb, if I was looking at a quartz granite versus marble, right? What like two pros, one con for each. If I was your customer going in there, how can you help break down the anxiety of just that first couple questions?
Okay, that is so key. It's one of the things we really hit on when people come in without their minds made up. Um, I'd say a certain percentage come in, they already know exactly what they want. For everyone else, that is the starting places. Okay, um, all of these are going to have pros, cons. Uh, Natural stone is excellent at diffusing or spreading that heat, like you touched on. You can take a quartzite, a granite, and most marbles. You put a hot boiling pan on it, and the heat just disperses. It's awesome. It's wonderful. Um, it's made for it. The other thing that is great with natural stone is a lot of times if it scratches or if it chips, it can be worked out or
Right. So big.
and they break. You know what? It's a billion years old. They have natural fissures in them that have to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Jerra and I were just talking about marble and why people like baking with marble. You know, uh, mar- Marble's another one. It disperses the heat. Scratch is super easy, but it's made of calcium carbonate, or most of the white marbles, which is great for baking. It's a natural.
Yeah.
It has natural anti-caking properties. So, like the Italians don't have to use as much marble when they're rolling their dough. Like
Right.
it's awesome. Flour.
Yeah. It's all right. Yeah, it's cool.
On the downside with natural stone is, well, um, it's not the same color from slab to slab, would be an
Right.
example. It can break in fabrication and it might get repaired.
Mhm.
That slab you picked is the single son of a widowed mother. You'll never see it again. It's
Oh
cut, it's gone.
my God. Yeah. That I'm just having like PTSD right now of a marble job we did couple like 4 or 5 years ago, and the slab they were bringing it in, and it had that bow in it, like the little, and they were trying to compress it so the island looked okay, and it just boom shattered in 6 different places. I remember the bill of that was
Yeah.
very kindly given to the general contractor. Oh man. So,
So, but
sorry.
that's part of natural stone, and
Yeah.
people have to be careful. You have to know when you can put pressure and not. But so natural stone is more susceptible to some of those. If you were to switch over to quartz, there's two other main ones. Quartz and porcelain is now on the market also, but quartz is wonderful for designers. It's a very stable, predictable material. You can pick paint swatches with a piece of quartz that's this big, and
Yeah.
it's going to work for most of the slab if you see the painting. It is pretty strong. And then the downsides of quartz are opposite. It doesn't love heat. It can thermally shock. My 15-year-old did 2 batches of shrimp in the air fryer, and the crack went up the seam and then straight sideways, and in a very good quartz product. So it doesn't love the heat.
Yeah.
It's difficult to repair. If you chip it, you can usually see it. Yeah. If it gets a deep scratch and you try to top polish it out, you can't get the finish the same finish.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's
It's a low maintenance stone.
It's a low maintenance.
Doesn't require any sealing.
No sealing.
I always say it's kind of an easy breezy stone if you don't want to have to deal with ever maintaining
Yeah.
Quartz is nice, and we just talk right on the front end about some of those heat issues, and I suggest getting some decorative cutting boards.
Yeah.
You can use them to display these pretty circles, and then if you're going to run that air fryer, maybe just pull that board out, stick it under your air fryer, and just get in the habit of doing that, and you'll be fine. Quartz is very durable surface. It takes a lot to hurt quartz, but heat can be troublesome. There's also, quartz is man-made, so it comes in any color of the rainbow. So if you're looking for light and you're looking for white, but you don't want a soft stone like a marble, quartz is a good option because it's going to give you a lot of options of really pretty white, light colors. A big range of
It does
patterns.
go back to kitchen use again,
Mm-hmm.
how you're using it. There's something to be said for the way something ages. We like to say natural stone patinas
Right.
over the life. And if you go into 30 years ago, really quartz was just starting on the market. There wasn't a lot out there.
Right.
The marbles that were in place, if you were to go look at a marble kitchen from 30 years ago, it's patina, it's scratched, chipped, etched, corners missing.
It's well loved and worn, but
It's
timeless.
It ages, but it's timeless.
Yeah.
So it is buyer beware on a marble, and it is also worth saying to quartz customers, like you touched on, maintenance, the low maintenance side of it. There really is no such thing as low or no maintenance.
Yeah.
We fight that from people's expectations again on Facebook. There's some really well-known brands out there that are great at marketing, and they have good products, but what they don't always take into account is we're Minnesota, like it's hard water.
Right.
There's iron, there's calcium, there's lime.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And you have to let people know, okay, maybe the maintenance is just wiping your countertop down. Don't wait until it's caked with residue, because it doesn't matter what the material is. If you wait, or if you're not constantly just doing basic maintenance, it becomes a much more difficult or much more some process to try to get it back to the factory. So
yeah, I think and this is the thing too is so I've worked with probably 25 or so different countertop companies in my career here, just based on customers, and then they bring their friends and they're like, oh, my uncle owns this. And I think something that people may not realize is, because they're like, well, it's the same countertop from Estonia, and then also it's the same countertop in Florida. Like it's the same. I'm like, well, it isn't, because the way the eye and the perspective of how they see it is so different. And not only that, they don't. Maybe that was a little too close because you guys are like a couple miles away, and I know both of you really well. But it was just like being honest is like, or like exquisite sewing and all these things is like what really starts to matter to me is for my customers, if there's a chip or crack, who's going out there, what's the warranty on it, and not only that, but before I even get to that point, how is the customer educated before I get to that spot, so that I can look like I was a decent hero in the sense, or a decent leader, that all these different parties come together and a situation does happen. Who does what and when is for me, once we go past like how do I choose the countertops, that right there, since I deal with it on a regular basis, is really deep into why I love working with you guys, is because we will have something and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And then one other thing is, I think sometimes too, I think Jerra, I don't know, what did you do before countertops again?
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom for years, but I also was a small business owner, and I worked with I refinished furniture
Yeah, because like some of my clients, right? I can think of a couple. Like you've done such a great way at taking that anxiety bowl. They walk in, they see hundreds of slabs, and they're like, all of a sudden you can feel that pressure on
Mhm.
them. You're just
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry. We should have stayed in the showroom. I wish I would have just took a little bit more time. But I think you do such a good job at breaking that down because your personality type is direct, but it's assertive in a confident way. And I think that's one thing that with how people have become so much more educated when they come in and they're like, oh, I know this, 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 that the Taj Mahal is the most important thing right now in the world. Whatever. It's like when you've been in it or you've been around it, you've been able to see the trends and be like, this is a good question. It's like for you, is it more of a trend thing or is it more of like what a customer wants? You know, like
Right.
that question there. Can you just kind of give
Yeah.
give an
When
idea on
when
that?
someone comes in here, we try right away to break the tension. I don't want them to feel like we're going to be pushy and that we're going to steer them a certain direction to spend more money or, high pressure sales. That is not us because that's not how I would want to be treated.
Yeah.
So we ask a lot of questions and we just start with just some basic education so that they understand some of the differences. I also listen to them a lot
Hmm.
and just try to listen to their story, listen to what led them here, get to know them a little bit. And when they're ready, we'll take a walk through the warehouse. But I also think, timing is important. Sometimes people will come in here and they're just at the very beginning and they just want to learn.
Ooh,
They're not ready to select. So,
that is so good.
we talk and we look, but we don't have the pressure of like making a decision.
Hmm.
So that's great. And then sometimes people will come back and they're ready to pick. And then we walk them through that. So really it's what brought you here and what are you hoping to accomplish from your visit today? And we will work with you on that.
Yeah.
Um, if somebody, you know, wants something that they see on Pinterest, and I know that's at a pretty high price point, I mention it. I make sure that they know this is going to price higher than this
Hmm.
material so that they don't leave and then get disappointed when they find out, oh, the thing that I picked is way out of my budget or over my
Yeah.
allowance. And we want
Yeah.
to keep people happy and in their allowance if possible and also meet their expectations. So it's a
Yeah.
and yeah, you might end up with the same quartz from us as another fabricator, but we do take a lot of pride in our customer service.
Yeah.
You will work with the same person the entire process,
Mm.
start to finish. We will do a really good job. We're
Yeah.
not going to be the least expensive. We don't price match. That's not our
Yeah.
marketing stick. But you will have a great process. You'll be
Yeah.
educated, and you will be very happy with your install.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
And
and it's not for everyone. Sometimes price is really, really important and a big factor. And you know, that is number one, and that's okay. Not everyone is our customer. And
yeah.
it's okay to recognize that if
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah. I have so many things I want to talk about. Like, we gotta start getting here. Uh, okay, real quick. Is like I think too countertops. So many people like I just heard this analogy the other day with the customer. They're like, well, countertops are like cars. You just go in there and you try it out, and then you just choose what you want. I'm like, yeah, if your car was being put together in like an IKEA box and then you had to go, you know what I mean? I'm like, you can either they're like, well, how is this so like why is this so expensive? I'm like, well, the slab, it's a 12 by 12 beautiful thing from who knows where.
Yeah.
Transportation, those things get broken, you're screwed. Then it goes to these guys. These guys have to make sure it's carefully cut. And then there's a lot of legal restrictions when dealing with a high pressure thing like this. And not only that, it's like teeth. You can fill and fix as many teeth as you want, but a good tooth is a natural tooth. You know what I mean? And you gotta you can go to a dentist in a foreign country and just kind of go at it, or you can go through the process So I was trying to like, find analogies to explain it to this guy. And of course, I'm just a dork. But my point is so here we are in this in the process, right? I came in. I'm like, okay, I know what I want. Found this online. You told me, all right, this is what I have that's similar to this and or that's equivalent in that type of range. Now, when it comes to what is probably the biggest question before, if someone knows kind of what they want and they're a little insecure, what is like after you kind of they know let's say they're down to two slabs. What is the thought process when you're helping them overcome what slab is worse or better? What does that next step look like in the questioning process for you?
Well, from a sales perspective, what we do is we try to help them see the big picture. So if they have a cabinet door they can bring in, tiles, if they have some paint swatches, if they have, metal finishes, we try to put those things with that material because it's not going to just be by itself, as a frame
Hmm.
of the wall. I mean, it has to work with your other finishes in your space. So we have hangers that we hang on our slab. And if customers don't have some of those things I just mentioned, we do. I have a lot of different cabinet doors and we'll put up something, let's say they're keeping their original golden oak cabinetry,
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
are refreshing. Well, we have one. We have a golden oak cabinet door we'll put up there. I've got metal finishes for all the faucets. I've got
yeah,
a slew of tiles and flooring. We don't sell any of that, but we
right.
just try to help them. We're not designers, but we try to help them pull things together,
Hmm.
um, and you see which flows with the rest of the things that are going on or the things I might want to go on
Right.
in this space. I
Absolutely.
think that's a big decision driver how to
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah, that was a good answer. I'm like, I get so
And
excited. Yeah, this is
yeah,
fun.
that's great. She'll come with her customers and she helps them along. That's one thing. For a lot of times, designers will come with their clients and um,
Hmm.
just walk alongside them and help them steer them towards something that they see would work well, and they'll bring the stuff and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's funny. So I call myself the B squad here. I don't help with customer color selections. I'll try, but it does seem to me that it gets down to exactly what you just said, Justin, where they get to like one of their final picks. And I think people are looking for like validation that I'm picking the right one. And that's where having Jerra or Shelley or Jenna,
Hmm.
someone that does have a good sense of style, just saying, yeah, I like what you're going with. We've already talked about how you're using your kitchen, what materials you want, and now it's like, okay, if I
Yeah.
have two pretty good options, this is what I like, and I do think a lot of people are looking for validation, and this is going to look good because the kitchen's not together. They're
Yeah.
selecting countertops off of
Such a good point.
that.
And
So
yeah. Oh, that's so good. And I think that's like right there is like the creation part, right? It's like how many times have you heard this? Yeah, customer goes, I just can't imagine it. Right? I'm like, it's okay. You don't have it's not your job to imagine it, but it's your job for us to help you is to help extract the information that you have within so that we can match what you're expecting. Because it's weird. Like, the more I heard this, like, the more I go deeper into this industry, the more I'm like, oh, like we used to make fun and funny terms like a house doctor and like everybody. My dad used to do this thing where he would talk about how the respiratory systems, the HVAC, the plumbing obviously is the plumbing, and then you got like the blood. Then you also have like the skin of it, which is the paint and all that, and then the countertops, which is more of the teeth and fingernails. Like you want to paint your fingernails. And it's funny because like I used to make fun of that so much, and like be like, Dad, what a stupid way to talk about this. And then all of a sudden here I am, and I'm like, because people respect the medical industry so much and then in our industry, people like kick it to the side and they're like, oh, it's just one thing, but it isn't. It's before it. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, there's not so many options. So now, and the customers have changed. We have life happening. You got LA on fire again, like you get, and my customers travel a lot. And so you're just like all this influence.
Mhm.
So it's just like what you're saying is like you can go on Google and get 1,000, you have a cold. Well, now now you're gonna die. You know what I mean? So it's just like kind of that. So I'm gonna go through just a couple really quick. If we could do a speed round answering questions, and then we'll create this in a reel for our friends and send it out. So real quick, biggest difference between courts and quartzite. Are they the same or are they like completely different?
Completely different. Quartzite, if anything, is going to be a lot closer to granite. Very, very hard. It's the hardest thing we cut.
Hmm.
It's a sandstone that's in transition to like a pure quartz or crystalline
Crazy.
quartz. So very, very hard. Can absorb water.
Hmm.
I would say almost opposite of quartz
Yeah.
on
One's a
stone
natural
spectrum.
stone, one is a
Yeah.
engineered stone.
Yeah. Perfect. And then, so here's another one, right? Quartz. So if quartzite, or quartzite, we're going to talk about quartz, which is different than quartzite, everybody. Does it handle heat? Is that true? Of
That's
course it does.
that's a super common question, and it does not handle heat as well as natural.
Myth busted.
Big
Get those
one.
Florida contractors out of here.
Yeah, those trivets, those hot pads, protect the countertop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then natural stone requires maintenance, but typically, for example, in a natural stone, what does it need and what are we talking about maintenance? Is it from a manufacturer's side of maintenance or is it from a homeowner's side of maintenance?
Great question. Do you want to do that one too?
Sure, it's a homeowner's side of maintenance. A lot of it has to do with the selection of your cleaning products. Selecting something mild, because with your natural stone, you have a seal that we've put on that top, and we want to preserve that seal as long as possible. So using something mild, and we'll kind of steer you towards some cleaners and give some good recommendations. And when it is time, it's the process of sealing, which is something you can do yourself. We can help someone through it. We can walk them through that. There's also lots of resources online, YouTube. We can even recommend the sealer that you would use, but you can do it yourself, but it is something you shouldn't neglect. And we show people too how to test their stone for if it needs to be sealed. If they're not sure, we can show them exactly what they can do to kind of determine if they're good or if it's time for a seal. So
Another question here. So I'm gonna ask this a little different. So when it comes to backsplashes, right? Typical backsplash, you have, I mean, if you're going to go right now, it's normally subway tile, right? If it's in my area. So when it comes to backsplashes, some people have like the little backsplash on the back with this little quartz thing, and then they do tile above it. And some people want to do a stone all the way on the backsplash, which most of my higher end kitchens, most of them usually lean that way. So when it comes to you guys, what are some of the questions that you should be asking? Because obviously you can do it as a backsplash, but what is some of the questions that you should be asking even before you're looking into that as an option?
So, um, first of all, I really like tile backsplashes. It's a very different look. So, when I'm helping on the sales floor, I am asking and clarifying that just because stone is a great product doesn't mean you need it everywhere. So sometimes too much of a good thing is too much. So just clarifying, does the tile bring something into your kitchen that you want? The texture, the joining.
Yeah, that's good.
But when you do full height, you are changing the plane of your material, vertical. So you're going to take all your veining that's in your tops and you're going to change plane. So we also have to be very clear with people that, okay, directionally, this might do something that you don't like.
Yeah.
So there's some conversations. Almost every time there's a full height, we're walking people through on what to expect with painting or
Mhm.
seams. We have to put seams places. Walls are never flat.
Yeah.
It's not a good carpenter and a bad carpenter, just things happen. There's plumbing in some of those walls, and you got a 3/4 inch bow.
Hmm.
You can't do a backsplash which on a perfectly flat piece of stone on a curved wall
Right.
without seams, without joints.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. The other thing I'd mention is when it comes to some of ours, because a lot of times, structurally, it's not necessarily like if the cabinets can hold it or not. That's not the question. For me, majority of the time, the question is because most of the kitchens are on outside walls, is the plumbing and the expansion and contraction
Yeah.
of the vent pipe. Just it sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, like most of the callbacks that I get are usually because of the expansion and contraction of the PEX that we use, and or something obviously settled, which is classic, like that one too. But so to your point, you can use it. I think it's just being educated and knowing, how big of a space you're doing it, how tall, because we've had the privilege of doing a lot, and and um and how what is it called? Not picky, how particular the customer is in the perfect look.
Yep.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
Yep.
okay, I got one more for you, or two more for you here. Is there what questions? Okay, so from a customer standpoint, right? If I'm working directly with you, we've selected the slab, we did all the stuff. What questions do you feel like people should be asking you way more?
Ooh.
Um, well, we cover so much.
Yeah, it's true.
All right.
What's yours?
Okay. Mine is what will we, so we work with customers outside of XtraMile. XtraMile is very helpful because you're, you define the scope of work for all your subs. But for the people that come in here, I don't think they have a good understanding of what a scope of work is in a trade.
Mm.
So they should ask, who's responsible for touching up paint when your 800-pound slab of stone scratches the wall? Like,
Hmm.
and it's a great question. Um, always say it was, well, the painter or
Hmm.
the sheetrock guy, but that's a real question. It can be a frustration when someone assumes that we won't ever damage anything or that anything we touch is going to be repaired by us. We're truly a countertop company. And as someone who's been at a lot of different companies, I can tell you this is always an issue is
Yeah,
the touch-ups after countertops. There are always going to be touch-ups with sheetrock.
yeah,
I would say two things right along that vein would be like, are they expecting us to do the tear out and the disposal? Because it's not typically included in our pricing, it's an additional option. So that's something that needs to be discussed. Plumbing, it has to be disconnected before we come in. We're not going to disconnect your plumbing. We have to be licensed to do that. And so then you do need to make sure you have a plumber come in if you can't do that yourself.
mm,
And then do the rehook as well and touch ups. Yeah. If especially if we do a tear out or something and there's a little bit of a difference in thickness, you might
yeah,
have a line where
Great point.
there's no paint because the previous top covered that.
Yeah.
And
Or,
yeah,
or if you had laminate countertops where it came
right.
on the cabinet
Mhm.
on the low end. Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, good question, Justin.
Yeah, and I know we gotta get going, but that brings up a couple other things. Is like for us, right? Um we are, I think, with technology and you get, like for example, like I get this question is like, well, your marketing shows this. This is what happened in our project, and why do we feel not heard? Or they believe like all I do is talk to people, like talk to my subcontractors about how much we're going to be making on the back end of a project. And I mean, thankfully, I don't have a lot of those type of customers, but those questions come up. So for you guys, I was just thinking about this is like as the installer, because you guys are really, I mean, not installer, but you do the three parts. You have the product, service, the delivery, and actually the forward. Then you have the warranty of it. What do you feel that customers like? If you're to look at the warranty of your product, which I'm not really familiar what the warranties are, but if you're to look at the warranties of the product that you're delivering and service that you're delivering, what how do you feel that when you're talking about like some of those questions about the chips or like you're working with a contractor in a project, how do you feel that you could help prevent some of the biggest mishaps that you see over and over if the contractor or homeowner did this first, you feel like it could have alleviated a lot of questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I can go first because I'll help schedule certain things, certain items. So
Mhm.
there's a couple. First is qualification of finished product. So as an example, we talked about themes earlier. Whether or not something is perfect. Perfect isn't the um, perfect isn't what is reasonable. Excellent is reasonable. Excellent is reasonable. But so that expectation,
Oh, that's good.
I would say we don't, thankfully, we don't have to go back and do a lot. Chip repair, um, things like chip repair or wear marks, like as an example, we had a customer that had aluminum pans, and as she was sliding them across her white quartz,
Classic.
we had to help with that. So what we did is we didn't charge. We went back out, we cleaned them, and then we talked to the homeowner about use and what was making the marks. We don't try to, we don't want to penalize anybody. Chips are going to be, dependent on the customer. There's people that have 25-year-old countertops that look brand new, and then there's people that look like someone was in there with a hammer. So
Yeah.
we charge a reasonable rate for those. If something happens, of course, at install or right after
Yeah.
during construction, we'll make that call. I mean, that's one
Yeah.
that's we're so involved. We'll just say, yeah, we'll take care of it, or no, tell the electrician who had his ladder on the island,
Right. Right.
just ridiculous, but it's an example. And then the other thing are use type items. So we can get on the warranty side, we can get our suppliers, the partners that we use to warranty some things. Also, an example would be a defect in the top. We've had
Right.
2 or 3 this year where we've gone back because the customer pointed out, hey, there's a mark in here, and when you see it in the right light, it's really frustrating. It's disappointing. We eat all the labor costs.
Right.
But we want people to be really happy. That's with quartz. Natural stone, you're going to have inclusions and things. Do you have anything, Dad?
No.
No, I appreciate it. I know I'm going a little long. Sorry. I like it. What happens is like after 15 minutes, you're like finally like kicking in. You're like, oh my goodness, like this is fun. So to be honest, what I've been doing is like I've been going through. So real quick, we're gonna finish up, but I want to show a little bit of their website and some of their work. So I should do this at the beginning. So this is like the gallery portfolio of it, and some of my favorite. I mean, there's a lot, but like obviously this one here is like
That's a cool house.
oh my God, like
And I will tell you that island has a seam. You just can't see it in the
yeah,
picture.
right. The disclaimer. Yeah, it should have like a little like was there seam or not? Like it's just so beautiful. When it comes to a space, the countertop it's funny because we're like, well, now we gotta get a countertop, and then they're like, I'm gonna go on Home Depot and just look it up, and then I'm gonna find it. And then what happens is like then they call us is like it didn't show up like I thought it was, and then the installer sucked.
Mhm.
My goodness, and I know this one has like an addition on the left side, but it's
Mhm.
as well. But this is just like you can really tell if you had somebody that was like of course the photos don't always show like the veining and stuff, but it's so important the
Mhm.
color because people are like, well, why don't I just go with the pure white and then just get something? But it's like that the little veining and how it ties in together, it can create
All of
something
it.
that looks like either like a hotel or a home.
Mhm.
Hotels do no veining, if
Yeah.
any, and they have sparkly little things in there, and it's like weird plasticky stuff, and it's cheap, which is, whatever. But if you want it to be a home, especially if you're beyond a certain price point, the natural veining and that texture is where it's at to go the long way. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much for your time and attention to what we're doing, and I know we're doing quite a bit of projects with you now, but sincerely, like we're so grateful, and I was gonna do like a free guide and whatever, but I kind of forgot, and I need to go meet an inspector. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Well,
love working with you
we
guys. You're a
appreciate you
great
guys.
team. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
We're
thank you
doing
for
our
having me.
Yeah, thank you. We're doing our best. We've overcome a lot of challenges and